The Acolyte has gotten so bad that one of its biggest cheerleaders, Grace Randolph, has turned on the show following episode 7. She described it as awful. This is after she has made repeated comments claiming that criticism of the show is tantamount to hate speech. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. I'd also ask you to hit that like button. Let's get this video into the upper echelons of the YouTube algorithm so more people can see it. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And Grace Randolph posted this in the wake of the atrocious Acolyte episode 7. She wrote, "The Acolyte, oh man, that was awful." She's got a little sad, depressed face there. And I guess a gif of the Kardashians here. But she did not like it. She's completely turned on the show. Her about face is dramatic, quite dramatic, because back in June, after the first 2 episodes premiered, Randolph was calling the majority of people criticizing the show grifters. This is what she wrote on June 6th. "I think it's funny that the Acolyte people are yelling shill at anyone who likes it. Yet the hate is largely being driven by people who are making money off of it, aka grifters." People don't even know what the term grifter means anymore. A grifter used to be someone making money talking to an audience about something that they don't actually believe. So it would be like me saying I like the Acolyte and trying to make money off of it because I think there's money to be made by saying that I like the Acolyte when I know that the Acolyte is garbage and I actually think that it is trash. That is what grifting used to be. Now it's just you're making money by being honest and truthful. Like, what? These people just ruin words over and over and over again because they try and use them as an attack and it never works. But anyways, that's what she was doing. She was trying to attack people who didn't like the show by calling them grifters. She didn't stop there, though. After calling people criticizing the show grifters and making it clear she had a problem with it, she hypocritically followed up writing this. "By the way, I have no problem if you don't like the Acolyte, but there's no need to go full Sith on it." So she literally just said that the people criticizing the show were being grifters, which clearly she was using as a pejorative, as a negative, clearly indicating she was taking issue with those people. And then she's like, "Oh, if you don't like it, then I don't really have a problem with it." Well, no, you do have a problem with it. You just admitted you had a problem with it. This is what I'm talking about. You're the grifter. You're the shill. You can't keep your story straight within 2 posts, like posted minutes after each other. 4:12, 4:14, 2 minutes. You couldn't keep your story straight. So a little bit less than a week after that, she then basically said that people were giving actor Lee Jung-jae a bunch of hate. She wrote this. "I will say that I think it's going to be very hard for Disney to cast upcoming Star Wars projects because this level of hate just isn't worth it, even for up and coming actors. Like poor Lee Jung-jae coming off of Squid Game, doing a great job on the Acolyte, and for what?" I have no idea what she's even talking about here. Maybe she's just thinking that anyone criticizing the show, pointing out how absolutely atrocious it was, pointing out how the plot was terrible, how the characterizations were terrible, how the characters' dialogue was awful. Maybe she thinks that all of that criticism applies to the actors, and they see that and they don't want to be involved in a show that's just going to get lampooned. But people were actually saying he was the best actor at this point in time. He was putting in the best performance. His character was the one that was actually interesting and intriguing when she posted this. So it didn't really make any sense whatsoever. And again, to me, when she was posting something like this, it's just her trying to attack critics by saying "Oh, they're just hating." Because look, just 3 days after that, she said that critics were taking on hate speech qualities. She had a 3-post thread here and says, "Note regarding the Acolyte. I understand why some of you are frustrated with Star Wars right now, and I'm by no means trying to tell you your feelings are wrong. I do feel the loudest voices against the Acolyte are taking on hate speech qualities, and that does not help your cause. So here we go again. Remember, she's calling people grifters, and now she's saying that if you're criticizing the show, you're potentially taking on hate speech qualities. Like, she is super trying to defend this show. As for me, I genuinely like the show. I'm excited for you to see episode 4 on Tuesday, the best of the 4 episodes I saw in advance. My Acolyte videos are meant to be a space for people who do like the show and those who might not like it, but are open to discussing it. I actually called her out for this on X. I told her to to paywall her shows if she actually believed this. I put her money where her mouth was, and she blocked me. So yeah, you see where we're coming from here. And then she says, does Lucasfilm poke the bear? Absolutely. Should there be a broader range of Star Wars content? Absolutely. But I feel The Acolyte is genuinely a good show with awful timing and is sitting down at a table where the odds were stacked against it, which is unfortunate. Again, I have no idea what she actually watched. If she watched the same show that I watched, it is objectively terrible. And art can indeed be judged objectively. There are things that you can point to it. You can point to the dialogue. You can point to set construction. You can point to music. There is a craft to it, and one can judge it objectively. And The Acolyte is objectively bad. This whole idea that art is always subjective, just always in the eye of the beholder, that just simply is not true. That is not how the world works. We literally even have Hollywood awards that originally were actually given to films that were the best, television shows that were the best. You have things that were given to best actors, best actresses. Obviously, those things have now been degraded, and it's just given basically based on woke points. But when those things were created, it was literally done as an objective standard, and the best did indeed win. So she would go on and continue to praise the show. Obviously, she's already talked about how she thought episode 4 was fantastic. She goes on and reiterates this here in this post on June 18th. She says, I'm excited for you to see The Acolyte episode 4 tonight. Of the 4 I saw in advance, this is the one that sold me on the show, especially the last few minutes. My breakdown will be waiting for you when the episode ends. If you haven't seen it, the literally last moment of this of that episode was literally just the Sith guy using a giant force push. So hinting at a battle that was to come in the 5th episode, which we would get. And she would absolutely rave about that episode. She was raving about it so much. She was still talking about how quote unquote amazing it was in the 6th episode. Let's just take a listen to her brief little intro here, where you can kind of see how much she's gushing about the show, even with episode 5 and 6 here.
It's hard to follow up an episode as amazing as episode 5. And to be honest with you, I think episode 6 doesn't quite live up to the challenge.
So there you go. You can see how she's describing episode 5 as amazing, and it's hard to live up to that, etc. Obviously, she does say 6 doesn't live up to the challenge, but she would go on and say, I think the only thing that would be satisfying after so much glorious action is an info dump of answers. And instead, here we get the promise of answers to come in episode 7 or 8. She would then later kind of double down on what she's posted on X. She says, there's a lot of hate out of the gate for the show, but there was a lack of positivity to combat it. Now we're finally finding ourselves in a space where at least it seems, evenly matched. So that's really important for the show. And that positivity that she's talking about is literally a bunch of people on X lusting after Manny Jacinto because he took his shirt off in the water, and was implied that he was fully naked there in a Star Wars show. So that's what she's talking about when she's talking about positivity. She's talking about a bunch of weirdos on X lusting after a fictional character. That's not positive. That's not positivity at all. That is degeneracy and negativity, and it should be shamed. And we should attempt to eradicate it from civil society. But anyways, that is what she was still doing, even with episode 5, episode 6. She's still gushing over the show. And now she has finally turned on it with episode 7, describing it now as awful. So they've lost Grace Randolph. Lucasfilm, Disney has finally lost Grace Randolph, one of the biggest cheerleaders, biggest defenders of this show. She has now finally realized that the show is indeed awful. And you really can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this up. I mean, she's literally was defending this show so hard, cheerleading for the show so hard, only to realize in the penultimate episode that the show is crap. But it's good that she's finally realized that. Maybe she'll finally realize a little bit earlier on, see the warning signs of when the show is absolutely terrible, like the majority of us saw with the premiere episodes. But let me know what you guys make of Grace Randolph doing this complete 100% about face on the Acolyte, going from its biggest cheerleader to now describing it as awful. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.